Ever wish there was a fast-forward button for legal cases? Well, get this. There kinda is.
Hmm.
Today's deep dive is all about summary judgment, a legal maneuver that can bring a case to a screeching halt before it even reaches trial.
That's right. Summary judgment, or SJ as we sometimes call it, can be a real game changer.
So no waiting for your day in court, no dramatic witness testimonies. What's the logic behind just hitting the skip button on a full-blown trial?
Well, it's all about efficiency and fairness, really. You see, not every legal disagreement needs a full-blown courtroom showdown.
Right.
Summary judgment is about preventing cases with, well, no real chance of winning from clogging up the courts and wasting everyone's time and resources.
Makes sense, a legal system running on efficiency, but how does a judge actually decide if a case gets the summary judgment treatment? What are they looking for?
It all comes down to this idea of a genuine issue of material fact. It might sound, well, complicated, but it's really about focusing on the disagreements that truly matter to the case. Imagine a disagreement that's completely beside the point, something that wouldn't change the outcome of the case even if it were true.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a genuine issue of material fact.
Okay, so it's not just about any disagreement. It has to be about something important that could actually change the outcome.
You got it. Let's say you're in a car accident and you're adamant that the other driver ran a red light. But then security footage clearly shows the light was green. That disagreement, while real, wouldn't change the outcome because the evidence contradicts your claim.
Ah, so it's like the evidence trumps even the strongest opinions. So if there is a genuine issue, something both sides can legitimately argue about, Andy, that could actually swing the case, then you're likely headed to a full trial.
Right.
But if the evidence is overwhelmingly one-sided, or if one side just doesn't have the evidence to back up their claims, that's when a judge might step in with summary judgment.
Precisely. It ensures that trials are reserved for cases where the outcome is truly uncertain and where there are genuine questions for, well, a jury to weigh.
That makes a lot of sense. So it sounds like summary judgment has really evolved into this essential tool for a more streamlined, fair legal system. But I'm guessing it wasn't always seen that way, was it?
You're right. Early on, back in the day, courts were hesitant to grant summary judgment. Judges were understandably worried about denying someone their day in court.
Yeah, that's a heavy decision to make. Sorry, no trial for you. We're calling it a day.
Exactly. It took some time for the legal system to find the right balance. One case that really highlights this early tension around summary judgment involved the legendary composer Cole Porter, actually.
Oh, no, this is where it gets interesting. I'm intrigued. What landed Cole Porter in a summary judgment showdown?
Well, a man named Arnstein, who had a bit of a reputation for suing musicians, he accused Porter of stealing his melodies. The problem was, there was absolutely no evidence Porter had ever even heard of these tunes, let alone rip them off.
Wow. So what was Arnstein's argument? I mean, how do you even try to win a case with zero evidence?
Arnstein's argument basically boiled down to this. Cole Porter is a liar.
Okay.
And the only way to figure out if he was telling the truth was to put him in front of a jury and let them decide.
So it became about Porter's credibility, not even about the music itself. What did the court say to that?
Believe it or not, they actually sided with Arnstein.
Wow.
This 1946 case, it raised a lot of eyebrows, even among legal scholars. Judge Clark, who literally helped write the rules on summary judgment,
Right.
argued that this ruling missed the point. It wasn't about catching someone in a lie. It was about whether there were even any facts worth debating in the first place.
Wow, what a twist. That's a lot of power given to someone making accusations. So did this case kill the idea of summary judgment altogether?
Thankfully, no. But it did highlight some of the early growing pains with this legal maneuver. It wasn't until the 1980s, with a trio of landmark Supreme Court cases, that our understanding of summary judgment really evolved.
A trilogy of legal showdowns. I'm hooked. Let's hear about that first case that reshaped summary judgment.
This first case, Matsushita versus Zenith, was a classic David versus Goliath battle. We're talking a small American company, Zenith, going up against a Japanese electronics giant, Matsushita.
Okay, now this is juicy. Give us the breakdown. What were these two battling it out over?
Zenith accused Matsushita of this wildly complicated scheme to drive them out of business.
Uh-huh.
Their theory was that Matsushita was selling electronics in the U.S. at a loss, intentionally losing money, all as part of a master plan to crush the competition.
Wow.
The problem,
Yeah.
after 20 years of these alleged shenanigans, Zenith still didn't have concrete evidence to support their claims.
20 years. Talk about a slow-burning legal drama. So what happened? Did the courts buy into this whole corporate conspiracy theory?
Yeah. Not a chance. The Supreme Court stepped in and basically said, hold on a minute, Zenith. You need more than just a compelling story. You need evidence. This case was monumental because it set a crucial precedent. Even if your legal claims sound good on paper, you need solid evidence to back them up, especially if you're dragging a company through years of litigation.
So, lesson learned. Don't come for a corporate giant unless you've got the receipts to prove your case. What about the second case in this legal trilogy? What new ground did that one break? This deep dive into summary judgment just keeps getting more interesting. We've seen how it can stop a frivolous lawsuit in its tracks.
Right.
But as we're learning, it's not as simple as just saying case dismissed and calling it a day.
You're absolutely right. The Masashita case we just discussed, it really highlights how important evidence is in summary judgment.
Yeah.
You can't just throw around accusations, right?
Yeah.
You need solid proof to back them up.
It's all about separating fact from fiction, right?
Yeah.
But how does that actually play out in a real-world scenario? Can you give us an example?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's say you're sued for breach of contract.
Okay.
The other party claims you backed out of a deal
Yeah.
and cost them a fortune.
Right.
But here's the thing. You have emails and signed documents proving that you actually held up your end of the bargain.
Ah, so it's like that I got it in writing moment evidence that clearly contradicts their claims.
Exactly. That's where summary judgment can come into play.
Okay.
The judge can look at the evidence you've presented and say, hold on, this case doesn't hold water.
Right.
There's no genuine issue here because the contract speaks for itself.
So summary judgment becomes this shield against baseless claims, especially when you've got the evidence to back up your side of the story. But what about the flip side? What if someone tries to use summary judgment as a way to dodge a legitimate claim?
That's the balancing act the legal system has to navigate.
Right.
Summary judgment is meant to, well, promote efficiency,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't be a tool for escaping accountability.
So how do we prevent that from happening? Is it up to the judge to spot a bogus summary judgment attempt?
The judge plays a crucial role, of course. They're the ones carefully reviewing the evidence and arguments presented by both sides.
Yeah.
But it's also about the party opposing the summary judgment. The one who believes their case deserves to go to trial.
Right.
They need to be prepared to push back.
So if you're on the receiving end of a summary judgment motion that you think is completely off base, you can't just sit back and hope for the best.
Right.
You have to come armed with counter-arguments and your own set of evidence.
Precisely. And this is where having a skilled lawyer in your corner is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
They can help you, gather the right evidence, craft compelling arguments,
Right.
and demonstrate to the judge why your case deserves a full hearing.
It's like a legal chess match, anticipating the other side's moves and having a solid strategy in place. So we've talked about Matsusha, the David versus Goliath battle that emphasized the importance of evidence. What about the second case in this trilogy that reshaped summary judgment?
This next case, Teletext, it really clarified things from the defendant's perspective.
Oh.
You see, before Teletext, it often felt like the defendant always had to be on the offensive, actively disproving every claim made by the plaintiff.
So it was a lot of pressure on the defendant to prove the plaintiff wrong, rather than just demonstrating they were right.
Exactly. But Teletext changed that. It established that sometimes it's enough for the defendant to simply point out that the plaintiff doesn't have enough evidence to support their claims. It's not about proving the opposite. It's about highlighting the lack of sufficient proof.
Ah, so it shifts the burden of proof in a way that makes the process more efficient. It's not always about proving the negative. It's about saying, okay, but where's your evidence to support that claim? What a game changer. All right, what about the final case in this legal trilogy? What piece of the summary judgment puzzle did that one put in place?
All right, we're back for the final act of our deep dive into the world of summary judgment.
Okay.
We've seen how it can be a powerful tool for efficiency,
Right.
a shield against baseless claims.
And even a way to level the playing field in, those David versus Goliath legal battles.
Absolutely, and we've learned that it's not just about, lawyers and judges.
Right.
Understanding how summary judgment works can really empower anyone navigating the legal system, really.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to something as important as your legal rights. So for our listener who's maybe never even heard of summary judgment before tuning in today, what's the key takeaway? Why should they care about this legal maneuver, even if they're not facing a lawsuit themselves?
Well, it's all about being informed and prepared, right?
Yeah.
Even if you're not currently involved in a legal case, understanding summary judgment, it gives you a glimpse into how the legal system works and the strategies that, come into play.
So it's like having this legal knowledge in your back pocket just in case you ever need it?
Exactly. Think of it this way. Wouldn't you rather know the rules of a game before you're, thrown onto the field?
Right.
Summary judgment is one of those key rules in the legal arena.
That's a great analogy. Knowing the rules can make all the difference. Now, we can't talk about summary judgment without talking about the third case in our trilogy of game changers,
Right.
Anderson versus Liberty Lobby.
Right.
What can you tell us about this case?
This case really gets to the heart of how a judge decides if summary judgment is, well, appropriate.
Okay.
It clarified a crucial point. The bar for granting summary judgment should be the same as the bar for, winning at trial.
So it's not about having a slightly better argument than the other side.
Okay.
It's about having a case so strong that it could actually win in court.
Exactly. It's about looking at the evidence and asking, if we went to trial with this evidence, could a reasonable jury find in favor of the plaintiff?
Right.
If the answer is no, then summary judgment might be on the table.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's not about giving someone a free pass.
Right.
It's about making sure that only the strongest cases, those with real merit, actually make it to trial.
That's a great way to put it. And that's what makes summary judgment such a powerful tool for fairness and efficiency in the legal system.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground today, from legendary composers to corporate showdowns.
Yeah, it's been fun.
We've learned how summary judgment works, why it matters, and how it's really shaped the legal landscape. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up this deep dive?
If there's one thing you take away from this episode, it's this. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to the law. Whether you're facing a legal issue now or just want to be informed, understanding concepts like summary judgment can empower you to navigate the legal world, well, with more confidence.
And remember, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you think summary judgment might be relevant, don't hesitate to seek guidance from a legal professional. They can help you navigate the complexities of the law and, make the best decisions for your specific situation.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the fascinating world of summary judgment. We hope you've enjoyed the journey and learned something new along the way.
Until next time.